Hey guys, welcome to the Premier League podcast. I'm your host, Raheem, and I'm here with my two good friends, Jake and Z. How you guys doing? It's been ages.
It has been. I just checked.
Mm.
3 weeks. Feels like 3 years, but a lot has happened. Nice to see you
Well,
guys.
yeah,
Speak
in a
to you guys
football
again.
sense, it does feel like 3 years because
Yeah.
there's been so much happening in the 3
Big
weeks that we haven't done an
things.
episode.
Big things have happened since we last
Massive
spoke.
things.
Blame
I'm
the
well.
internationals.
Yeah, we'll have to. We were at the last international game for England.
Let's not talk about it. It wasn't
That's
great.
true.
Frankly, it wasn't great.
It was a great evening apart
It
from
was
the
good.
game. Apart from the game.
Yeah.
The game was
It was dead.
we didn't lose at least.
It's true.
But
It's very true.
yeah, I mean, let's just go straight into football because honestly, we have so much to talk about, and I don't know if we can get through all of it in a good, timely manner without making a video like 3 hours long. So let's try and get through as much of it as we can in as quick as time as we can. But one of the most recent things to happen is Nuno being sacked from Tottenham. Now, obviously, Spurs have been struggling pretty much since the second month onwards of the Premier League. You know, the first month he won Premier League Manager of the Month, winning all, was it 3 or 4 of his
Three
games,
games.
1-0. Yeah, 1-0 each game, and didn't concede a goal. Things were looking better. Kane still wasn't even fully integrated into the team at that point, and they were still managing to, you know, get a result. I think at the time on the podcast we did say that their luck was going to run out at some point because they were scraping wins with every game. They wasn't winning convincingly, and I think we did mention that we could see things might change at some point.
We did. I mean,
Whether we thought it'd go this bad, I don't know about that. But
yeah, it's one of those things everyone
No,
says,
no.
like, 3 points is 3 points, a win is a win. But you kind of need to, like, just look, like the eye test, see how you're winning.
yeah,
Certain teams have a certain flair to them or a way that they play. Even considering how Nuno was at Wolves, like his previous team, defensively sound, especially for a club that didn't have the crazy budget of top clubs, with a wicked counter like Traore, unbelievable pace. And the number of times they caught teams on the counter, they caught City that season. They won 2-0 against them. Traore scored both goals, I think.
yeah.
But that identity wasn't there with Tottenham. You could see in the way they're playing, scraping out 1-0 wins with a squad that good was just a massive surprise. And it wasn't like he immediately stamped his mark on the
Yeah.
team. Because if you think
Yeah.
about it, Tottenham aren't the most defensively sound team in the world, but they're still reasonably good at the back. They've got Lloris, who's a fantastic goalkeeper. They have
Yep, he is.
previously had a decent defensive line, maybe not the wing backs that he had at Wolves, but they've got people like Son, perfect counter.
Amazing
Like
player.
I would much rather have Heung-min Son than Traore, right? Like he offers
Yeah,
so much more, and
me
he still
too.
has blistering pace, ridiculous skill. The goal against Burnley being a perfect example. Doesn't even need to
Oh,
pass;
what a
he'll just
goal.
do it by himself.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, how was Nuno not able to make it work with a similar set of tools, if not a much better set of tools at Tottenham? And
Yeah.
they won 3 games, scraped it, and then Kane coming back, and inarguably they have been worse. They've been worse since he returned.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see it because he just labors around the pitch and he's not offering too much. And sometimes he's playing so deep. You're like, dude, you're a striker. Like right now, what are you, CDM? He's just holding the ball up. So yeah, I think it definitely showed that there was more to it. Him winning Manager of the Month was kind of surprising because it was 3-1-0 wins. But you could see, like you said, the writing was on the wall. Like unless they improved drastically or something changed to give you something to believe, especially as a Tottenham fan, it must have felt pretty rough. Where you're like, this can't last, right? It's not going to last forever. So yeah, it obviously got unravelled. I don't even think he made it to 10 games.
No,
No, he hasn't.
it's I think was that 9 games in. It's
Yeah,
been
9 games.
And I think he had 4 wins and 5 losses. So if you consider the first 3 he had on the bounce were wins, he went 1-5 down the stretch, and from that start, not very good. I think are they below Arsenal? They are below Arsenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
And
Arsenal are level with Man United, aren't they?
Exactly.
They are. Yeah.
And we gave Arsenal a
Relegation threatened versus title challenging. and
Yeah.
they're exactly the
What are you
same
trying to
spot.
imply there, Jake?
Exactly that. And if Arsenal were threatened by relegation, then
Yeah, true.
Tottenham right now are playing in the Championship already. Let's be honest. They're already down there. But
yeah.
yeah, I think I can't judge him too harshly though, because the whole situation leading up to it over the summer, he wasn't their first choice. Like
Yeah.
they
It was
were
like their 10th choice.
yeah, they were picking up scraps, and they'd already spoken to Antonio Conte before, and if the talks broke down, because obviously the way he likes to run his club is that he likes complete control and he likes a big
He
budget.
does.
Like he
Yeah.
wants an open checkbook to get who he wants to make that system work. And if you look ever since he was at Atlanta in 2009, 2010, he's only stayed at teams a couple of years, and he's been
Yeah.
phenomenally successful with every team, or he set them up for success, like the Italian side. He didn't win anything with them, but he set them up, and you can see the hallmarks of their victory back to when he was managing them. Did a great job at Juventus, got Inter Milan their first league title in 11
Very
years.
impressive what he
Obviously, we
did with
saw
Inter.
Lukaku running, but he
Yeah.
needs that, right? Like he comes in, he demands that checkbook, and he will make it work. Like, he's a great man manager, brilliant motivator, really tactically astute and sound, and his teams, weirdly enough, are kind of similar to what Nuno's like a budget version of him. He's incredibly defensively sound, like Tuchel-esque in that regard, but he much prefers his wing backs rather than traditional wingers, right? So he's got Doherty to choose from, he's got Reguilon to choose from,
Yeah.
Emerson
and
Royale.
Emerson
Royale,
Royale.
who hasn't
So
had the best of starts at Tottenham.
he hasn't,
I,
no, but
I thought Emerson was really good against Man United. To be fair, their best player.
Yeah,
Which
I
says a
think
lot.
he,
Which
I think
says a
he
lot,
did play
really.
well. I think he
Says
did
a lot,
play
really,
well. I
doesn't
say
it?
well. I think he did play all right. But
Considering Tottenham.
from like speaking to other Tottenham fans, I think that they're pretty. He hasn't like blown anyone away in terms of his performances since he started. Obviously, it's still early days, so we don't know what to expect with him. But I think so far it's been underwhelming. Whereas Romero, I think Christian Romero, he's been a sort of a victim of a poor side. But based on things that I've heard, once again, I don't watch every single one of their games. I've seen quite a few of their games, but I don't watch every single one of their games. You would expect Nuno to get more out of the players that he's got, especially with, like Z said, how defensively well he was with Wolves, with players that arguably aren't as good, and with Christian Romero coming in to sort of shore up that defense a bit more. Pierre Højbjerg, I can't remember how to say his full name. He was so good under Jose last season, as a CDM, and he doesn't look quite the same this season. I feel like Nuno just hasn't really been able to get, I don't know, the right system out of this team. Like they always seem quite disjointed. I don't know about you guys, or if you agree with that, but that, to me, when they play, they always seem a bit disjointed.
I think it's difficult going into a job at like a top 6 team when you're quite clearly you weren't wanted, and you were basically a backup plan. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like you're not really wanted anyway. The fans were like, like, because my brother-in-law is a Spurs fan, didn't want him, and it's literally, I went and saw him the other weekend, and literally he was saying like, Nuno's a donkey, he's useless, he's getting sacked, blah blah blah. I was like, oh, you reckon? You think so? Blah blah blah. And he's not. He weren't wrong.
No,
but I think it's funny that it's so early in the season that Spurs have actually Spurs it up already. I think that's really funny. But
there's two ways to look at that though. When you say that he wasn't wanted, you can let that bother you, or you can use use that to prove people wrong. I mean, like Rafa Benitez wasn't wanted at Everton, and I mean, I don't know, I can't really say about how well it's not been a terrible season, but I mean, he says at the beginning of the season that he's determined to prove that to win the fans over, and so Nuno can take that same approach, but obviously it hasn't worked out.
I mean, with Benitez, it's kind of like, look at his CV and look at who he's managed and what he's won compared to what Nuno's done and won, really, because Benitez has won like European Cups. He won, like, he was at Chelsea for like 4 months and won the Europa League.
That is true.
he won the UEFA Cup with Valencia. He managed Real Madrid, albeit for for 4 months before they jogged him on. But like he goes to teams, he does well, he gets teams playing pretty well, he wins things. They took Newcastle from the Championship to the Premier League.
Yeah, I think you got to take into account the reputation of managers as well. Like we look at Benitez, and he's got a great resume. I'm not even a massive fan of the guy, but as a manager, he's kind of a contrast. Like we talk about Conte possibly coming in. Rafa's the kind of guy who'll come into a club, he'll demand that everything improves. He won't just come in like Conte and say, "Give me a checkbook. I'll make sure the first team is good, but nothing else will really, be impacted by my presence here." He comes in and he's all about right from the bottom. The youth team's going to improve. The facilities are going to improve. The toilets are going to be nicer. There's going to be fewer loose threads on the kit. He's got
self-flushing toilets.
Straight from Japan. Import that. Like he's got a meticulous attention to detail, and that's one of the best things about him. Every club I think that he's been to has been improved even after he's gone. Even if the results on the pitch haven't always gone their way and not been acrimonious, but as a unit overall, clubs have always been better off than when he left. And Nuno doesn't have that in his drawer, right? Like he was really good with Wolves, but nobody really. I personally didn't think he was ready to make a jump to a top 6 club, because the way you can do that is being like Ole, having a history where people are going to kind of forgive your shortcomings, and also going on the great run he did at the start, or being like Zidane, going from relatively unknown as a manager straight in to being massively successful because you're a legend at that club. Even Pirlo got that treatment. Didn't really have any experience. He went into Juventus, and he wasn't actually a good pick, but people were giving him a shot at the start because it's Andrea Pirlo, right? Like, you've got to have a legendary status about you if you want to make that jump and have people kind of be okay with it. Nuno didn't have that. There's nothing to say that he can go straight in and have the fan support because he's not tied to Tottenham in any way. He's a complete newcomer, unknown, like you said, 10th choice. It's kind of a stand-in. So for Tottenham fans, it almost felt like it was doomed. It was doomed to fail unless he pulled something crazy out the bag, which he couldn't do.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to say, I mean, I do think Nuno was an odd choice, considering last season Wolves just wasn't.
Yeah, they weren't there, were they?
They weren't that good.
No.
Whereas the 2 or the 3 previous seasons before that, Wolves were really good. So if it was off the back of one of those seasons, then it would have made more sense. But off the back of last season, they had a poor season. But to play devil's advocate with that, sometimes there are managers that will make that big step up and will embrace it. You got to look at Tottenham's history anyway with Poch. They took Poch from Southampton, and Southampton wasn't a big team. Going from Southampton to Tottenham is a big step up. And even though he didn't win anything at Tottenham, I think he's definitely been one of their best managers. That they've had in a long time, getting them to a Champions League final, and getting them top 4 every year, playing really good football.
But like the era they had, the years they had with Poch, I think that was the best chance they had to win a trophy. Yeah. Like I've got on my notes about Spurs peaked at Europa Champions League final because they did peak in the Champions League final. If you think about it, from that game, it's been downhill from there. Like they've got an aging squad, so they need to replace these. Kane's like 28, 29, I think, isn't he? Son's like nearly 29. Dele Alli is completely fallen off the wagon. Lloris is like 30 plus.
Yeah.
So they need to start. They need to
rebuild.
They need to bring. Yeah, they need to rebuild. They need to bring someone who's going to bring like their youth forward. But they've not really got that many good youth players coming through. They had Harry. They brought Harry Kane through. They brought Dele Alli from MK Dons, and they've got these players. They've got these players coming through. But I find it very unusual that they're bringing in Conte and we know Conte. He's very much one of those ones when I want lots of money, I want all these players, and he's going to a club with like the tightest owner in the Premier League.
But you would have thought that he would have demanded those stuff before he signs his contract. Originally, he said no, and I think I don't know the terms of the reason why he said no, but you would have thought he would have said to them, "Hey, look, I need this much money. I need this much guarantees in these areas, and they were like, well, we can't guarantee you that. And he was like, cool, bye. Because he said he wasn't convinced by their project, right?
Definitely.
That was the statement at the time when he turned it down.
So the question is, what's changed in 4 months?
Well, I assume what's changed
when he's looking at his Tottenham team, going, they're shit. What can I do with this?
Yeah, but I assume what's changed is that they've said, okay, look, you know what, things are going really bad. We will agree to your terms, and we will bring in some players that you will need.
But the thing is, though, like, are Tottenham actually going to do that? Or is it one of those things where they're going to say it? Because like they brought in Jose Mourinho, and again, he's one of those people who goes, I want lots of money. Give me lots of money, and I'll buy lots of players,
but
really good players for lots of money.
A lot of players. They bought. I think they brought in like 7 players that season. That first season, the first summer that he had, they brought in a lot of players.
Yeah.
You know, Højbjerg was his.
Never been wanting for cash, for sure. I mean, maybe that's what kind of makes Levy apprehensive, that he already gave a decent sized checkbook to Mourinho and it didn't really work out the way they wanted to. So I think from Conte, it's probably less the team saying, oh, we'll acquiesce to your demands. It's probably him just saying, my position right now is so much stronger than it was because you had to go with your 10th choice. It didn't work out. So maybe try it my way. And this time there's no negotiating about it. I mean, Levy could renege on it if he wanted to, but that would be a death knell. Like, that's going to set this team back so far. And another thing we've already spoken about already, it's been a massive story, is Kane staying and him not playing up to the level that people should expect.
It was a mistake.
At times, it's almost just borderline unprofessional with how little you can tell he just doesn't give a shit, right? Which is fair enough. If you're in a job and you don't want to stay there anymore, by all means, but at least do the bare minimum, right? Like missing out on training sessions and not playing up to his potential and stuff like that. Like, we'd expect it if he played and then got injured, because he gets injured 3 times a year. But that hasn't happened. He doesn't have that as a cop-out. So the fact that he hasn't really helped the team much, and like I said, they've been worse off statistically since he came back, but him going would have been the perfect time.
It would have been.
Conte's
really should have sold
him. Conte's coming in. He's asking for money. You have a player who doesn't want to be there, and you can get 150 mil.
Yeah, fuck him off.
Euros, whatever the exchange rate is, who gives a shit? It's about £15 million difference, right? Like, how? And in hindsight, obviously everything is clearer, but that would have been the time to do it. Conte wouldn't give a shit about Kane. He doesn't give a shit about player loyalties and how they come across to the fans. He's like, cool, get rid of him. I'll find a £40 million player who'll play even better, because he's good enough as a manager to get that out of players. Like, look at the players that were at Inter, and how amazing, and how Hakimi's gone for shitloads of money, and Lukaku was barely there for 2 seasons, has gone for practically a record fee. Makes him the highest paid player of all time cumulatively. So that would have been the time to do it. Conte's now in a tougher position because he has a captain and a talismanic player who doesn't really want to be there. But maybe him coming in could motivate Kane to actually give a shit, because it's not quite, end of doors yet. Like, he could still raise his value back to where it was. He's only getting older, so it kind of would be the time to do it with a manager that good. Conte could come in and make them contenders for a cup.
Yeah,
in a month.
I don't think he'll do very much.
Conte does demand a lot more respect, definitely than like someone like Nuno. Just like, because like you said, what he's won, like what he's done. You know what he's done with his previous clubs, and he's earned that respect. So when he walks into a club, I'm sure when he walks in compared to when Nuno walks in, the players will have a different level of respect for him. So Kane, maybe he can get the best out of Kane before he goes. Maybe he sits him down and says, "Look, man, play one more time for me, give me everything, and I'll make sure you leave in the summer."
Yeah.
But I mean, some of this blame has to go with Nuno a little bit, I think, because Kane's been woeful and he's basically not been there, and you got to have the guts sometimes to drop a player like that when they're not putting in the effort.
Definitely. And I mean, having that undroppable player, or the surest sign of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And it's kind of, what were you really getting out of Kane? I think he's barely scored a goal. I know he scored a couple goals in Europe.
He scored against
but that's
Newcastle.
the Conference League, the Europa Conference League.
Even that is kind of a difference, right? Like, he's doing so much better outside of the one tournament or league competition that everyone wants to see them succeed in, and is also pivotal to their survival, right? Like, in terms of surviving with the big boys, you need to make Champions League football. that revenue stream is massive. It's almost
Yeah,
like he's out
yeah.
here sabotaging the club, And like I know we talked about it
Respect.
off podcast, and he just couldn't care, and it's like that's so damaging in all aspects. But we have to see how it plays out. Conte seems to be the shoe-in. Will he come in? If he does, then I know for a fact I'm getting Son on my fantasy team ASAP. Like, no doubt, like straight away, because he will make a change within a week. He will get everybody in order, in line. He's super. He's a proper micromanager. He likes control of everything, but he produces a result from that. So it'll be interesting to see if he comes in.
What I will say is, if you're going to put a Spurs player on your fantasy team, put a really obscure player on there, because I remember when he was at Chelsea and he brought Victor Moses back out of the cold, and Victor Moses had probably 2 of the best seasons of his entire career. But then again, I don't know if Conte is going to do the bit for Spurs. I've got on my notes, you can polish a turd, it's still a turd.
Oh man, that's true. That's true.
It looks like it's just shinier. It looks like one. It still stinks of shit.
I'm going to look through Tottenham squad and find whoever has a biblical name and just get them lined up. Yes, my £4.5 million striker. Let's go. But yeah, I think Conte would be great. And naturally, I've seen people memeing about it already. And Raheem, I'm sure you'll have something to say about this. But Nuno going before Ole. How does that make you feel now that it means that Conte's off the table? If Ole were to go, I mean, potentially, supposedly that's the way it's trending and all the reports are indicating it. But yeah, how do you feel about Ole's position?
As I understand it, Manchester United are fully behind Ole Gunnar Solskjær and already made the decision that they were not going to sack him. Before that Tottenham game. So if we had lost that Tottenham game, Ole would still be the manager, and he would be regardless of whether we lost the next 3 games. Is how I understand it. They're going to give him more time.
Very, very lucky boy.
Yeah, they did meet to discuss it. They did meet to discuss whether they want to get rid of the manager. They were apprehensive about bringing in Conte. Obviously, look, I wasn't sitting there on the board, so this isn't like from someone that was sitting there listening to all of this, but this is how I understand it.
Wait, it's not
like.
We know you got the microphones.
Don't let them know that.
We know you're on the board. Yeah. Don't lie.
Don't let them know. Don't let them know. But they are apprehensive about Conte because of his short-termness in terms of only being at clubs for 2 seasons usually, and his style of play being a more defensive style of play, not being the Man United style of play. Now, all I got to say to all of that is that's absolute rubbish, because since when has the board cared about any of that stuff? All they care about is the money that goes into their pocket. So that's absolute bull straight away. Like straight away, I'm going to say that. But I like Conte. I do. I really like Conte. So I don't want this to sound like I don't like Conte. I do. I think he's such a good manager. I have a lot of respect for him. What he did with Inter was brilliant. It was amazing. You've got all these somewhat what people would label as Premier League rejects. I'm not labeling that. This is what they were sort of seen as. Got a lot of these players into the team and managed to end what was it, a 9-year stint that Juventus was winning Serie A.
Yep, and 5 the full decade.
Literally, and he did that all in such a short space of time. And what he did with Chelsea, that first season he came in, Chelsea were in absolute disarray. They were finished 15th, I think, or they were 15th, 10th. My bad.
10th, man. Don't do that. Don't do
was
that.
Was it 20th? Were they relegation zone?
You got to round it down. Round it down.
They were mid-table, isn't it?
But he came in and next season won them the league straight away. Same players. No, I respect everything.
He brought some rejects in for us as well, because he brought David Luiz back, innit?
Oh, there we go.
And then
he loves bringing in the rejects, doesn't he?
And then Marcos Alonso, like a guy who couldn't get a game at fucking Sunderland, comes in, like plays has a banging season.
Yeah, he started killing it at Chelsea.
This is what I mean, and Conte, I respect that. He's amazing. He's an amazing manager. So, but And here
He'd
is
probably
the
play
bar
Van
that's
de Beek as
becoming.
well.
He
He'd probably
would,
play-
and he probably would play Van de Beek. He actually probably would, which would be amazing. But, and here's the but, I didn't really want Conte because I don't like the back five. I don't like that formation. And I feel like we've got a problem at the moment where we're very top heavy. Like we're so top heavy. Ronaldo, Cavani, Martial, Sancho, Rashford, Mason, Ahmad, like Jesse Lingard, Mata. That's 9 players I've just like called right there that are all attacking players. I didn't even mention Bruno and Pogba who can play out the attacking, side, but we're so top heavy. And if you bring in a manager that's gonna play a back five, I mean, you saw at the weekend we played a back five and we had Bruno, Cavani, and Ronaldo up front, just those 3. So that means that all those other players that I mentioned are on the bench. When you buy a £74 million England like hot prospect like Jadon Sancho, and you've got like Mason Greenwood who's like this generational talent, and you've got Marcus Rashford, you've got Martial. When you've got all those names as well as Ronaldo and Cavani, can you really bring in someone who's gonna put all of these people on the bench and make them unhappy? I just don't see. And he's a short-term manager. He would be there for 2 years. He might win us something, yeah. But I want someone that's gonna sort of have that Pep or Klopp kind of influence on the team. So Klopp. Okay, Pep came from Barcelona, but Klopp is a great example because he came from Dortmund, and going to Liverpool is a big step up, and he's changed like the club completely. And he's there long term, and he's got them playing a specific style of football, a proper philosophy. I admire what he's done there at Liverpool, and I want something like that. Conte would be very short term. So if the alternative was stick with Ole or move to Conte, and that's it, those are the only 2 options you got. Fair, move to Conte because I've had enough of. I can see that we're not going anywhere with Ole now, so I would take Conte if that was the only option. But there are other options out there, and I would prefer that we looked at some of those other options. Ten Hag, I've mentioned. I don't know if I mentioned in the podcast before, but Ten Hag for me would be if I was on the board. That's what I would be looking at doing. Obviously he's halfway through his season at Ajax as the manager. He's done an amazing job there. The season when he got them to the semi-finals, and he's had his squad completely purged when everyone brought up all their best players, and he still managed to revitalize the squad again and be putting in really good performances in the Champions League. I think he's got a really good philosophy. He plays attacking football. I like what he does. So I'd like us to go out and try and get someone like that instead of going for another like Conte, Jose, those type of names that are going to be short term. And yes, might win you. Yeah, exactly. They might win you
like
stuff.
a long-term vision instead.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
I mean, because you mentioned Klopp when he came to Liverpool, it was a rough start. Those first 2 years weren't that hot. He wasn't the mastermind he is now, but they gave him time. They had faith in him. They believed in his system working, and it did. He turned them into the best team in the world. Like,
But you
with
could
that
still
patience.
see what he was doing, though. Even when the rough start, you could see what he was trying to do.
That's what I'm saying. He just refined that
Yeah.
gegenpress of his. It started off pretty ramshod, but then he started using. I mean, all of his players in terms of fitness, they exploded. Like they're the fittest players in the league, and that became sort of the underpinning of everything that they've then achieved after that. I mean, on top of that, look at their business. Like, if you, I saw a graphic recently. It must have been on Reddit or something, and it was about the net spend of teams. Liverpool have a lower net spend than Norwich.
Really?
Yeah, it's in the minus. They've made a profit. It was only like 2-3 mil, but in terms of net, that's crazy when you think they've bought in Van Dijk, they bought in Mane, they bought in Salah, they've bought in all these amazing players, and they've gained money from that. Partly because they sold Coutinho for what is basically a king's ransom, which is ridiculous. But that's still good business, right? And then they sold their fringe players for amounts that are quite frankly criminal. to get rid of
And
players
to
like
be
that.
fair, they didn't actually spend a lot of money to get a lot of those players. Like Van
No,
Dijk
yeah.
was expensive, yeah, and Alisson was probably expensive. But apart
Yep.
from those two, Salah wasn't really the biggest name in football when he was
No,
brought into
that was
Liverpool.
just phenomenal scouting and
Great
then
business, and then
Relatively cheap
Mane
considering.
shaping the team
was
around him. Yeah.
somewhat. I mean, okay, maybe it's all relative. I can't remember how much he came for, but at the time it might have been a lot of money. But yeah,
That's what
those type of prices, Fabinho, Keita, they didn't
think
spend
about
well.
Fabinho as well. Like, if I let me look up right now. Let's have a look at how much Fabinho
Well, he's
costs
such
them.
a versatile
I think it
player.
was like 40 million. I think they paid for him.
That's a steal for someone so versatile.
Well, things like
Yeah, 39 mil. And
Sadio Mane was like 30 odd million. Salah was like 35 million pounds. That's like bargain levels of like Chelsea signing Kante for 30 million.
Fabinho for
You know
40,
what I mean?
he's worth about 100 to that team.
Yeah.
Like him not
Yeah.
being there right now, you can see that they're struggling a little bit, and Mo's basically carrying them defensively. They've looked a little bit more suspect. They've leaked a few more goals and stuff, but he's so pivotal to that team. But they only spent 40 million on him. And when you compare how much United wanted that same role with like Pogba, and they spent twice as much, it's almost like that Galactico mentality of like just get the biggest names, like just get the
And
biggest,
that's what
baddest
they'd be
names
doing if they
and
got
jump them in
Conte.
the squad, right? Whereas
Yeah.
Klopp has that vision, and he's like, look, I need pieces that fit my chessboard.
Yeah.
Like I need a rook, I need a bishop.
But
Don't
Pep
come
does
back,
the same thing. Pep does
don't
the
come
same
back with
thing.
anything else.
He scouts the Man City scout very well. Pep goes, and I don't know if you've seen the All or Nothing documentary, the Man City one, but Pep goes, I need a centre back. They go, cool. These are the qualities that Pep expects in a centre back, and you know what he expects. He wants someone that's good on the ball. He wants someone that's going to be comfortable under pressure, that can do a good pass. It's not just about the defending with him of the defender, and so you know those attributes. So when other managers might say, I need this person, Pep goes, here my qualities. This is what I need for that position. Get me that. And then the scouting go out and find that, and they may not be the biggest names, Laporte or Ruben Diaz.
Yes.
Great buys, I mean, maybe you guys had, but I hadn't heard of most of those players before we brought them in. And
No, for sure. I mean,
so,
when you think about it, it's an interesting philosophy, and it kind of goes beyond just the managers at that point. Because I know Ed Woodward obviously is there with United, but if you look at Liverpool spent about 70, 80 million on Van Dijk, basically the best defender in the world, and Diaz got bought by City. Was he for about 50? I think I can't remember off the top of my head.
60, I think.
50 or 60, and they got Diaz. United spent 80, but they got Harry Maguire.
And when we
I'm
got
not saying
him,
that,
he was like the biggest name in English.
That's
I'm not
peak.
saying that. I'm not saying that to
peak
shit
and
on
that's
him,
cold.
but it's basically what their mentalities are right. Are like
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
and where their focus lies. It's like they all spent similar amounts of money, and yet Harry Maguire wouldn't even be fit to handle their kits after a game. He couldn't be a kit
I
boy.
think that's a
Like,
bit harsh on Harry Maguire.
Harry Maguire
that's
is
harsh.
nowhere near the level of Van Dijk and Diaz. Like Van
Can-
Dijk and
can I-
Diaz are
can
in
I just
all
say-
world teams, all world 11s right now.
Yeah,
Maguire is nowhere
and
near.
they are definitely better than
But he
Maguire.
costs more. That's what I'm saying. That's that underpinning of how you're going to have your transfer budget be like that. You're not going to get the players that then managers like Ole have to try and succeed with. So I'm saying, like, you need a manager who can come in and direct everything, have full control, sort that out, because it's terrible transfer market, like year on year. And then they've got Sancho. It's the same thing. Think about it. You got 80 million in Maguire, you got another 80 million in Pogba, if not higher, and then like another 80 million in Sancho. At every stage of the field, you've got 240 million pounds worth of players who aren't performing.
Yeah.
Give 240 million pounds to any other manager who's competent, you're going to win a trophy.
You got to look at it differently. Like I understand what you're saying there, but you got to remember that the manager right now is Ole Gunnar Solskjær, and if you swap Ole Gunnar Solskjær with Pep goes to Man United right now. He gets more out of that same squad. Maguire, that £80 million Maguire, he gets more out of him. Sancho, he gets more out of him. Pogba, he gets more out of him. He gets more out of those players. I guarantee it. Same with Klopp. Because
anyone would.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say anyone, but those managers definitely would. You would. Those managers definitely would, and I'm sure there's a lot of other managers out there in football that would get a lot more out of those teams. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's good as a. I mean, I don't even like saying this anymore because saying he's good as a man manager, sometimes I even doubt that because you got promises of the world to Donny van der Beek and doesn't play him. He promises the world to Eric Bailly and Jesse Lingard and doesn't play him. Harry Maguire was injured for however many for a couple of games, and he came back from injury, had one training session before that Leicester game. In the press conference, he says, yep, Harry Maguire's had one training session on grass. That's what he said in the press conference. One training session on grass. I'm thinking, cool, he's not going to be stupid enough to play Harry Maguire. We've got other centre-backs. He'll play someone else. Who starts on the weekend? Harry Maguire. And he puts in one of the worst performances I've seen him play. And I've seen him have a lot of crap performances because the Tottenham one last year, where we lost 6-1 or whatever, or 6-2 it was, Harry Maguire was awful in that one. That was on the level of that.
That's the one he pulled Luke Shaw out of the way.
That's the one where he pulled Luke Shaw out of the way, yeah. So the one
done
against
the same
Leicester,
thing as Liverpool as well.
Yeah, it's
honestly, fourth goal.
I just don't understand why Ole does this all the time. He rushes people back from injury. So Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw are both injured and he rushes them both back. And you've got Eric Bailly here who was gonna leave. He was gonna leave and he said, no, don't worry, sign a new contract. You're gonna get an opportunity for game time. And he can't even get in when Harry Maguire has been injured. Donny van der Beek was going to leave in the summer. Fabrizio Romano told us this. He was going to go to Everton. It was nearly done. Yeah, on loan. And Ole Gunnar Solskjær put a stop to it. Donny van der Beek comes back from summer holidays early. Donny van der Beek bulks up. He's really motivated and ready to start the season. I actually think our best midfielders come when Donny and Matic has played together, like in that cup game, which I know we lost, but I think that them two were played really well in that game. But has Donny van der Beek had any game time apart from that, after that cup game? No. So Ole Gunnar Solskjær is a liar. That's what he is. He's a liar. He sits there and promises the world so that you don't go, but he doesn't. And then he just goes back to his favourites all the time, like McTominay, Fred, Maguire, Lindelof. Like he goes back to his favourites all the time, and he completely ignores the ones that aren't his favourites, and that's why Jadon Sancho also is in this position where he's on the bench a lot and he's going to struggle. And so this whole thing about him being a good man manager, I'm not even sure about that anymore. But all I got to say is that tactically he's not there, and so you can't always say, "Oh, Maguire this and when Pogba this and all that," because I think other managers would get more out of those players.
They might do, but I don't think you can overcome the physical defects that players like Maguire have. What, somebody going to come in and make Maguire fast? Like, no, he's slow as shit. The dude's slower than old age Internet Explorer. That's just a fact. like there are certain shortcomings you can't overcome. And like I said, I'm not trying to shit on the guy, but you pay 80 million for somebody, they should play like an 80 million pound player. He doesn't. He should have been bought for about 30 or 40 million. And that's the English tax, whatever else you want to go along with
Leicester's fault. Like, that's not Harry Maguire's fault. That's Leicester, and they were.
That's Man United's fault.
It's United's fault.
Well,
I'm sorry. It's United's fault. If I go in and pay £10 for a Tesco meal deal, I'm the fucking retard. It costs £3. Everyone knows this. It says it on the bloody thing in bright yellow with a £3 sign that's in the centre. So that's the thing. It's that issue of buying players or overpaying for them, which then also sets up an expectation that you're supposed to perform to that level. You can't. You drop £300 million on £100 million worth of players, and you got a manager that can't even handle the excess. Like, it should be helping him, right? Like, oh, he's got such a great solid squad and all this depth. It's not going to work. Like, Ole is out of his depth. He doesn't deserve to have that much talent on the team.
100%.
And even then, I think the talent isn't even there. It's a combination of Ole being inept, and he lacks so much in tactical versatility, and which is why he keeps going with the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The market insanity. On top of that, it's kind of just the club in general. Like, overpaying and this idea of, Cavani
also overpaid.
Cavani was taken, but and nobody else wanted him, even with his astronomical wage demands, for a reason.
Free.
And he's been good, I'd say, but not great, not as great as he was, because he was world class for.
He's been amazing at United. He's been amazing at United.
He's getting better. He wasn't amazing at the start. He's gotten much better. But would you say right now that he's enough to just start every game? No, you still have to manage his minutes, right? Like, the dude isn't.
Yeah, you have to manage his minutes.
He's not like a puppy, so he's getting older. But I think Ole is lucky to be in that job. But it's that same thing. It's kind of like lucky. United seems corrosive from the top to the bottom, why is this guy getting so many chances?
Yeah.
Why is he getting so many chances he does not deserve? He hasn't earned the right as a manager to have that much talent to squander.
I couldn't agree with you more.
And this is what I'm saying. And until they get rid of him, they're never going to stop making bad decisions. Keeping him is a bad decision. You are going to keep making bad decisions if you can't even see that. Or lack the self-awareness to realize that.
Bad decisions are being made by Ed, though, aren't they? That keeping him is a bad decision made by Ed.
Get rid of them both.
So
Double
Ed and the
whammy,
board,
2 birds, 1
they
stone.
all need to go. They all need to go. Ollie needs to go. Ed needs to go. The Glazers need to go. But
that's what I'm trying to say. Like, getting rid of Ollie isn't going to be the solution. You need to get rid of it all. You need to gut it all.
Well, United fans have been saying that for years. Like,
you need a massive rebuild completely from top to bottom.
Not necessarily the players. Not necessarily the players. I think players wise,
you can keep. The players you can absolutely.
Players wise, I think we just need a CDM, and we're pretty much got.
Get rid of some of the dead weight. Get rid
of some of the dead weight.
Just fold Man United. Start again.
But yeah, the rest of it, I completely agree, and you can't. I don't think you'll find many United fans that disagree with you there. I know I can speak for the majority of United fans when I say we do not like the Glazers. We do not like the Glazers. We don't, because all they care about is money. And ever since they've taken over, right, we've been in hundreds of millions of pounds worth of debt, and the club's direction has always been a business first direction, football second. And you got Ed Woodward, who's running the club, he's a banker. He's got no actual experience in football before Manchester United. He's a banker. He doesn't know what he's doing, and you can tell by the decisions he's made over the years. All those decisions that he makes prove that he doesn't know what he's doing. And then
Ed Woodward is a symptom of a much larger issue in sports, which is that
money
across all
businessmen get involved in sport.
Men in all sports who are incompetent are continuously allowed to fail and fall upwards.
Yeah,
he has made some of the most moronic transfer decisions you'll ever see, and he keeps being rewarded for it by having a job.
Super League. Let's not forget that.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's completely detached from what United stand for as a club. What their history is about. And I mean, we all saw Fergie in the stands during that game.
Oh, mate, heartbreaking.
That says it all. That says it all,
brutal.
Right? He left that club in the best position it could possibly be in. He spent most of his adult life building that, and then to see it torn down because the ineptitude of a bunch of morons must be infuriating. But he can't go and batter them because he might have another heart attack. If he has a spare heart, though, I'd risk it. Go on, Alex.
I wouldn't put it past him. I wouldn't put it past him. Imagine if he was younger, he would be berating them.
He's probably looking for that boot he threw at Beckham's head. He's like, can I launch it at Ollie from here? I got that laser targeting. It's like bullseye. But yeah, I think United definitely need to. But this is the thing, they won't, right? Like you said, they're so focused on the business, and until they keep printing the money, they won't have an incentive to change. Like, they'd almost need to get embarrassed 10 games in a row, 5-0 defeats, all those FIFA apologies, and then maybe they'll consider doing something. But until that happens, you guys are in a bad spot.
Raheem, do you generally believe this season that United will win a trophy?
No. Actually, sorry, wait. Can I change that? If Ollie stays, if Ollie stays in charge, then no, definitely not. If we swap to a different manager, potentially, like if we had got Conte, I would believe that we could win a trophy. Like I said, I respect the guy and think he can do amazing things. He would come into our squad and he would get them playing better, and he would, we would have a chance of winning a trophy. But like I said, I want something more long term, and I think someone else can still come in and do something long term and still win stuff. So yeah, but as it stands, no. We're not winning anything. And top 4 is not guaranteed either.
On my note, I just put, is he the right man for the job? And obviously, I've listened to you for about 5 minutes, and you obviously don't think he's the right man for the job. And
no,
I agree, because literally, like, he's won no trophies. Like, at a club at Manchester United, regardless of what state you're in, a club of your stature, the players you have, you need to be winning something. And
100%.
It's not good enough to say, "Oh, we got semi-finals. That's good, isn't it?" Or like, oh, we just lost on penalty. That's unlucky. But it was really good to get to the final. Like, is that how low Man United have sunk to the point where like they're now accepting just being there? And like,
it seems like
it's like when like a lower league team goes to an FA Cup final, you're kind of like, oh, we're just really happy to be here. It's a great day out for the fans. Like, are Man United really like now to a level where they're just happy to get to a final regardless of the result? You want a team. This is an elite team. This is like the most successful team in British history. One of the most successful clubs in the world. One of the biggest clubs in the world in terms of fan base, revenue, etc., and all that business crap that the Glazers fucking get wet dreams about. And you're just going, oh well, it's great to be in a final. Don't really care if we lose. It's not good enough.
The Glazers
it's simply not good enough.
But yes.
Oh no. Obviously, the fans are kind of be like
very frustrating.
Like we want to like you could have won the Europa League. You could have won
the Europa League
twice.
And I blame Ole for us not winning the Europa League. By the way, that final, I fully just like how Gareth Southgate is the reason why we lost the finals in Euros. Yeah, Ole's the reason why we lost the finals in in the Europa League.
I'm a big believer of like when you have a team chasing titles, you need either title winning players who've won something, or a manager who's won something, because that mentality and that way of pushing through the boundary and things are tough and you're back against the wall, you've got someone who can pull you out of it, who's been there before and done it before. So like I thought I'll come back to Chelsea again. Like when we win titles, we have these players who have been there, done that, won the league, won titles. Thomas Tuchel's won. Yeah, he's won the French league, but then who hasn't? he's won cups in Germany and stuff like that. And then he goes to Chelsea, and within 4 months, we've won the Champions League, sort of thing. Like this is why I knew that Tottenham were never going to win anything under Pochettino, because he's never won anything. He managed mid-level teams and stuff like that, and so they weren't going to win anything because the Tottenham players haven't won anything, so they don't have that mentality of pushing through.
They didn't bring that combination in. No. Either the manager, like you said, or some players, and they had neither.
Yeah, or a core group of a squad who have won something together. They got like with Chelsea, we had like Drogba, Lampard, Petr Cech, John Terry, Ashley Cole. This core group of players who've pretty much won everything in England. Like kind of, let's keep going again. This is what we do, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard as a United fan to
I must imagine
deal with these owners, because as fans, we don't want our standards to drop.
No,
where they have, and where they seem to be been dropping, and this season already seems to be sort of okay, we're just gonna, the best we can do is top 4. Genuinely, I think to myself, the best that we're going to be able to do now is top 4, because I can't see us winning any trophies, and we're already so far off the pace with the title race that there's no point even considering us title challenges. And so Champions League, although we're top in our group, we're in a very low quality group, and we're struggling. We're lucky to be top in the group, because against Atalanta and Villarreal, I feel like they were the better players, the better team. The other team was the better team in both of those games. So I can't see us winning that either. And for me, the Glazers and all that are sitting there thinking, well, maybe Ole will pull something out of the bag and get top 4, because I know that's all they care about, because you get money for being in the Champions League. But for the rest of us, that Liverpool game was the final straw for a lot of United fans.
It was bad, but
it was terrible.
We have not got enough time to cover that. That needs to be an episode in itself, like
literally
a little side piece episode, because that was embarrassing. That was embarrassing. I was watching it, and I was texting. I was like, "This is embarrassing." The
funny thing is,
so bad.
The funny thing is, I fully I went into that game expecting to get battered. Like I said to a lot of people before the game, I was like, "We're going to get battered today." You do realize that, and that is what happened, because
you did.
The performances before that point just weren't good, and everyone, people getting carried away with that Atalanta result. Paul Scholes was there saying, "Look, man, that result is misleading, and if they play like that against Liverpool, they are going to get battered." And that's exactly what happened. So I'm not convinced. We beat Tottenham. People are happy again. People are happy again. And at the end of the day, that's literally what I was about to say. At the end of the day, it's Tottenham. It's a Tottenham side that are really struggling in the Premier League, who've been playing, who've had a new manager who's can't seem to find an identity or get his team organized to play well together. So beating them, they didn't have a shot on target, but they also didn't have a shot on target against West Ham before. Do you know what I mean? And they lost to that team in the Europa Conference League, which I don't even know what their name is.
It's Vitesse.
That team.
It's Chelsea's little feeder club.
Is it?
The amount of young players we sent on loan. We sent Mason Mount there.
Really?
Yeah, legit.
Oh, fair enough. Well, maybe they might have some decent players. They probably have like half of your squad. Well, I don't know half your squad.
They've got our rejects basically.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, that result against Tottenham, although the response was great to see from the players, I know that we're once again going to go into the same thing. We might struggle against Atalanta again. We definitely will get beaten by City. So
yeah, I mean, don't be too
don't
sure.
Say that. No, I know.
Don't be too sure. Don't be too sure.
We can pull a win out.
You're going to smash. You're going to get smashed by City because Crystal Palace went to the hand and turned them over.
Look, we've got a really good record under Ole against City, and we can pull a win out of the bag against anyone. Like, we can do it, I know. But, yeah, I don't know. Ole needs to go, but at the moment, he's not going to go. So I'm kind of like in a limbo right now. I don't even know how to feel. Do you know what I mean?
It's pretty rough, like,
that's peak.
hoping your team will just put it all together for one game and get out the win that is possible.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to having the steady satisfaction of being Chelsea and City and Liverpool and knowing that teams have to pull that out of the bag against you in order for you to lose, or something has to go really, really wrong, like Palace against City in that early goal and then Laporte being a moron, for it to sort of like unravel. United,
exactly.
And it goes back to what Jake said, a club of that stature literally just like living on a prayer. Essentially,
but that is it. That is
games,
it. We are living on a prayer.
It's crazy, right? And speaking as a Milan fan and seeing how that whole situation's gone down this past decade, they've been further down than United, right? Like they've been closer to the 7 rings of hell than United have sort of gone. But it's worked out. Like Pioli came in, they basically rebuilt from the ground up. They even had a transfer ban to contend with. And now they're tied for the top of Serie A with Napoli, miles ahead of Juventus, 7 points ahead of Inter. Inter's still strong, don't get me wrong. But it's possible.
Juventus are struggling without Ronaldo.
It's possible, but you have to have the balls to actually make a significant change and make the decisions that aren't easy for... I mean, the club at United
the fans want that, but we can't.
The fans want it, but unfortunately, you're powerless.
That's
right?
the
Because
problem.
everybody with all the influence,
powerless is the right word. That's exactly
everybody with all the influence knows that in order for the club to get better, they have to lose their jobs, and they don't want to lose their jobs because they get paid loads of money to be shit. Like nobody rewards incompetence quite like that in English football right now, because all the other big teams are good, even Arsenal. Like I mean, we were giving them shit. But to be fair, to our credit, we did say it would be different when Gabriel and Partey came back.
We did say it.
Ramsdale has been a revelation. I mean, let's be honest. We all knew that it wasn't going to last.
I didn't say Ramsdale was going to be a revelation, but
we knew that we had to be opportunistic and shit on Arsenal whilst it was still hot.
I hoped it would last. I hoped it would last, frankly. But well done, Arsenal. Well done, Arsenal, I guess.
But that's the blueprint of what Tottenham needs to do there, because you see how Arsenal brought in, 6 players in the summer, along with their good players from last season, which was their young players, and they've managed to sort of. It's almost a different team. Like what was it? One of my friends was saying to me, "How is this Arsenal team gone from so bad to so good in such a short amount of time?" And from last season. And I said to him, well, if you look, it's pretty much a whole different squad because, with Partey being injured and Gabriel being injured, them two weren't playing last season, and then you've got the newcomers like Ben White and Tomiyasu and Tavares, Lokonga, all these new players that have come in. And then, the actual few good players from the squad last year, which was like Saka and Smith Rowe. Batman seems to be coming back into form. So it's almost like a new revitalized squad, almost.
Yeah, and
But, yeah.
they're still pretty good defensively. Gabriel, White, Ramsdale. It's that same thing. We talk about identity. Like it's so important for a team to be
It's
about
so
something the
important.
fans can get behind.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're a defensive team like Atletico Madrid, you know, and Chelsea now, you know that once you get a goal, you're pretty much gonna. I mean, unless something goes horribly wrong, you're gonna easily hold off, right?
Mm.
And we've seen Chelsea against Liverpool absorb that pressure down to 10 men. Like that's the sort of stuff that fans can get behind. United is such a coin toss every single time they line up at the
100%.
weekend that you're like, well, how many times
100%.
can we get heads in a row? Tails never fails. You know, the whole like Ollie at the wheel. Yeah, he's at the wheel, but it's not attached to a fucking car. Like it's it's just completely removed from what fans can get behind, and yeah, it's just horrible to see a club that nobody actually gives a shit about unless you're a United fan, let's be honest. But even then, just as a general football fan, it sucks to see such a big institution get taken over by business interests and then be a
Yeah.
reflection of those business interests because they don't seem to care about winning.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean,
that sucks more for you than it does for me and Jake. So probably Jake and I.
let's move on from
I
the woes
completely
of my
missed that.
club. Don't worry, it wasn't that important. He was just taking the mick out of United and how peak it was for me. Let's move on before I start crying.
So usual, then, isn't it? Usual shit in it then.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I mean, obviously, we're trying to keep this in a decent amount of time. So, moving on to the final topic about who's going to win the title. I thought we'd like do. I mean, obviously, we're not at a significant point in. There's been a lot of games now, so we've come far in the league, and sometimes it's good to look back and just see how close teams are to winning the league. At the beginning of the season, it was Liverpool, Chelsea, City, and United that were the considered title contenders. Now that United is firmly out of that race, we've got three teams left. What do you guys think? Who's looking likely to win the league? United. You can still say United if you want. I mean,
that's a good joke.
Yeah, I'll say United if I want to be wrong.
Norwich to win the league, man. You mark my words.
Chelsea look the strongest, I would say, only because Lukaku's been out and wing-back FC is apparently too OP for the Premier League.
Man like Reece James.
Bit of a joke, but it's amazing the way they're pulling it out of the bag. I mean, replacing Alonso, who had such a great start, with Chilwell, who's doing even better. Azpilicueta, I'm not sure what's going on with Azpi right now, Jake. Maybe you can tell me. But yeah, James coming back and just sort of taking that right side to himself. I'm not sure if Azpi's injured or if he's being managed or waiting for cups. But yeah, they look hot off the press because their defense is what's keeping them in every single game because they're the best defense in the league. But then they also have the two best wing backs. Like that's so overpowered and so good for their chances of holding it throughout the season, especially when their rotational options are also pretty strong. On top of that, you've got Liverpool, who on form have the best player on the planet, who isn't Robert Lewandowski, but he's in Germany, so fuck that guy. Mo Salah is the best dude that we need to give a shit about right now. That's the boy.
Amazing.
He is actually on. He's on a different planet right now. Like the way he's pulling this shit out of the bag. He's so good. He's making Mane look not shit. When Mane is actually a completely wasteful, jammy piece of crap, and he's taking about 13 shots to put one in the net. But Firmino's doing his bit. Always the unsung hero, especially when he's on form. Defensively, a bit suspect, but I think it's Fabinho not being there. Like he's so important. But yeah, I think they look the strongest. And then City, I would say City have just looked strange. Like
I agree with you.
I think it's because I bought Diaz in on my fancy team and suddenly 1 point and 2 points. I was like, motherfucker, you got like 12 and 6 before this. Where them at? Where my clean sheets? But it's a blip. City always seem to have a blip like this, and they're not that far behind. I think they'll pick it up. The real battles.
I mean, you say a blip, but they've only lost one game. I mean, they've still been doing good. They just look a bit off the pace a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, it's a blip. It happens every year, but it happens to every team. I mean, are we forgetting Liverpool got banged 7-0 by Villa? Like,
Yep.
it's not like it was that bad. They would have 10 men, City. So every team seems to have that. But those are the top three. I think at the start of the season, I put Liverpool, City, Chelsea, or did I put United, Chelsea? If I put United, Chelsea, then that's definitely not going to happen. Chelsea will finish above them. I think Chelsea and Liverpool at this stage will probably be top two.
I agree.
But then it's City. Like, you never know. It could come to the end of the season where injuries are mounting and playtime is accumulated too much, and then bam, Raheem Sterling and Riyad Mahrez, time to shine down the stretch. Not played anything, and their squad depth sees them over the line like it has done previously. But
yeah, I mean, we talk
those are
about
the big
that all the
three.
time with Liverpool about squad depth, and if they have a couple of injuries, then things could change. And as it stands, I think if everyone stays fit, obviously they're missing Fabinho, like you said, and that's so important to them. But they're still making it work. But if they get another injury to someone like Salah, I think that could have a big impact on their title race contention.
Yeah, Liverpool definitely don't have the depth, and they're struggling from that right now because you've seen Keita's had to come in. They didn't adequately replace Wijnaldum. I think Gini moving and not having a replacement has been massive. I mean, Hendo's done its best. Fabinho's really taken up that mantle and covered it amazingly well. He's world class, and he seems to go under the radar because of how well he connects the back line to the forwards, and he just holds the play up, doesn't make any mistakes. He's really smart. But yeah, that depth is lacking. You know that once you start having to rely on Milner a bit too much for his versatility just to plug in any gaps, is when you're going to be running a bit thin. And I wouldn't be surprised if Simicast ends up playing a few more league games here and there more than we kind of expect them to. Because Klopp's always about his players just being fit, the fittest players in the league, playing back to back to back all the time, no real rests. But yeah, I don't think this season we're going to see much of that. And interestingly, Pep is the opposite, right? He always seems to over rotate, but
he does.
I think even he understands that with the way it's going this season and Chelsea being so strong and Liverpool getting off to such a good start, primarily because of Mo and then everybody else around him, he hasn't rotated as much as he normally would. He's trying to stick to a unit who he thinks will get him the best results. Cancelo's played like 9 games in a row, which is unbelievable considering Zinchenko's there and Walker's there. But yeah, squad depth is really going to become an issue, I think, post winter in a big way.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all unfolds. I do think Chelsea and Liverpool are the strongest two at the moment. It'll be interesting to see. Lukaku's going through a bit of a little drought.
He's injured.
I don't know. Is that? I know he's injured now, but even before
the
injury,
that, yeah.
he was going through a little drought.
I mean, does
that worry you,
Jake? We still got the results. So,
yeah, but specifically for Lukaku, does that worry you? Because I know obviously Chelsea have that history with but at recent times trying to get strikers and strikers having a hard time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You was gonna try and blag it then, right?
I was gonna try and think of something, but I was like, you know what? No. I was. Oh no, I ain't right. No, I am. Because again, history.
I find it interesting though, because if you've I've watched a lot of the games because I had Lukaku in my fantasy team, so I had to tune in. So I had to analyze this. He's been getting into good positions. He's had a number of goals disallowed. The classic old, Werner treatment. But
he's turning to Timo Werner.
I think playing with Werner has kind of hampered him because they've always used him in that same target man role rather than giving him balls to actually feed on, run onto, which Mount would have been ideal for. Kovacic and Jorginho play a different style for Chelsea, and I think that's kind of hampered. They rely on Big Rom just to hold the ball up. Everybody else rushes forwards, and then suddenly, at least at the time, Alonso, Azpilicueta, or James were free to run down the flanks. He loves his wing backs, but I think the stats haven't really shown how important Lukaku has been. But at the same time, he needs to be utilized differently.
Yeah,
like he was earlier on. He came on, he scored a few goals.
Yeah,
right after he started, and I think Mount was playing there, and then Mount had the international break where he was overplayed and he had COVID or whatever it was, or some sort of injury, and he had to take a back seat. I think that's impacted Lukaku a bit more, because when Mount's there, he draws defenders away. He's so direct with the way he plays that's closer to what Lukaku's excelled at when he was at Inter. Just get him in that final third. Don't pass him the ball and expect to hold him up. Get him to run along with it, because if people can't deal with his strength, with him backing into them, there's nowhere they're mussing him off the ball in a straight line where he's almost faster than them as well. They need to get him playing into the goalkeeper one-on-one, and that's where he'll get the bulk of his goals. So when he comes back, I expect that to change, and I expect him to pick up more goals. But he has missed Norwich, Burnley, and it will be like Newcastle. So that's 10 of his
Norwich
league
one
goals
was
this season.
peak, because that was going to be my, captain Lukaku, get him a double hat trick. But yeah,
the issue is the fact that Tuchel's trying to play Werner and Lukaku together. And I think that's where he's dried up. Whereas in the earlier seasons, he was playing pretty much 4-3-3, and like he had Lukaku as a focal point. He had like Havertz and Mount either side.
Yeah.
Like what you were saying about getting Lukaku in behind his first goal against Aston Villa is a prime example of that. Literally, Kovac plays an absolutely delicious ball through, and then he runs onto it and just like knocks the defender off and finds the bottom corner.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it's such a strange decision to have Werner play alongside him, because if your whole point is trying to get Lukaku to hold the ball up so he can pass it to Werner, well, if you do that, Werner's always going to be fucking offside. You may as well just pass it to Lukaku, because on the times he's not offside, he actually can finish the fucking thing. God. Think about it, right? I'm like, Tuchel, it's common sense. I ain't played FIFA in a decade, but even I would know this shit.
Timo.
I mean, it does seem kind of weird.
It's so true, though. Like, we all know it's true. We're laughing, but Jake's like, he's nailed this shit, you know.
I'm laughing through the pain.
You seem to have like, I mean, I mentioned before about how many attackers United have. Chelsea are in a similar situation when they have a lot of attackers, and it seems weird to me that he wants to play Werner every time on a wing or whatever, when you've got so many other people that can play.
The difference is
actual wingers, and
the difference is, though, yes, we are top heavy, but also we've got quite a good defense, and also crucially a good coach.
Yeah, I mean that was unnecessary, because that wasn't a dig, but it was just
no.
It was just the sense that I find it weird that Tuchel decides to play Werner every time, when you've got like Ziyech, you've got Pulisic, you got Hudson-Odoi. There's so many players that you can play on those wings that are more creative as well, because Werner's not a creator. You've played Ziyech and Pulisic, or you play something along those lines, and you're going to get. I would have thought Lukaku would get more balls to him.
You can't play Pulisic too often, though, because that dude is literally made of glass.
Oh, he is so injury prone. Yeah, he is.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
He's a fragile American. We must protect him at all costs.
I refuse to put in my fantasy team because of that.
He's definitely not Captain America.
No,
Captain America's very strong. This guy is just like literally a wind could blow on him, and he would like put a hammer or something. You know what I mean?
To his credit, like the way he plays, I can kind of see that whole.
It's so direct.
Captain America never gives up. He's got that perfect American mentality. That's exactly how Christian plays. Like, he never goes down easy, which is to his detriment, because he plays through knocks and bruises and challenges that other players would be like, nah, I've got to come off. But he plays through them, and then it just hampers him. He's only 23, and he spends so much time on the sideline. This is the thing. When he does play,
he's game
breaking. Game breaking. He will completely ruin your team, for the opposition, but he just doesn't have that many opportunities because he can't stay healthy.
Literally, he absolutely destroyed Real Madrid in that first leg.
Yep.
Like, his goal, completely mugged off the entire Real Madrid defense.
He's such a phenomenal player, but
he's an amazing player.
For 2 years in a row, I've had his name on the back of the Chelsea shirt, because that's how much I actually rate him. I think he's so good, but
he is
again,
great.
he's just very brittle. He's a fragile American boy.
Hey, they say the best ability is availability, and unfortunately, that's what's holding it back right now. Like, nobody doubts his quality when he does play, but hopefully he can kind of put that behind him.
I'm just gonna leave last bit. I'm just gonna paraphrase Rio Ferdinand. Tommy's at the wheel. Chelsea to win the Premier League. I just thought that it's good, isn't it? It's good, isn't it?
We move. All right. Well, moving on to the last thing then. Let's get some score predictions in for next week. Start with Man United, Man City.
Oh, is that next week?
Yeah. Well, God. This week. Sorry, this week.
Oh,
it's Saturday.
Oh no.
My head says 3-1 City.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart says 3-1 City. But I just know Ollie's gonna pull out some jammy fucking 2-0 bullshit win with Martial and the ghost of Juan Mata somehow scoring. And it'll just be like, and he saved his job for another month. It's gonna be the biggest load of bollocks you've ever seen. And then Fergie's gonna somehow be in the crowd, like, cheering him on, and like people will be like, guy. I had a pucker pie at the stadium, and I could have sworn I saw Matt Busby in it when I first broke through with my fork. It's just going to be some mystical,
written stars
shithousery, yeah.
Written in the stars. Oh my days.
So I'm saying 3-1 City, but if it's 2-0 United, then you fuckers owe me a pucker pie each.
Yeah, fair, absolutely fair.
Fair enough. Okay, go on, Jake. What are you saying?
I'm just prepared for just an Ole tactical masterclass after like 3 months of being a PE teacher. He's going to go like I am, and then he's going to like turn into like prime Jose Mourinho at Chelsea sort of thing, like absolute shithousery. But I think I don't know, Man City look a bit. If he gets his tactics right on that rare occasion he does, I think United can hurt Man City. As we saw last week with Palace, they pressed them high and they put City under pressure, didn't let them play, and City was like that. City just couldn't play. But I'm gonna say 2-1 Man City.
You see all this, right? I don't even like. How am I supposed to feel about all of that? Because all of this jammy crap, which I'll be watching, I'll be sitting there and I'll be happy we won, but then I'm sitting here like, well, Ollie's still here. It's such a weird position to be in, but I honestly think City's going to destroy us, to be honest. But there's always a chance that Ollie pulls some random jamminess out of his out of his bag. I'm gonna say 3-1 City. That's what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Okay, Chelsea Burnley.
I don't know. Burnley Burnley is just one of those ones where like they have a really shitty run, and like last week they beat Brentford 3-1, and Brentford aren't a walkabout. They're not a walkover.
No, they're not.
And Burnley took them to the cleaners really. It depends on what Burnley turns up really, and what team Tuchel's going to play, because obviously I don't think Werner and Lukaku will be fit in time.
They're both injured,
no, they're both
so
out, I think.
It's probably going to be a Havertz false 9 again. But I'm still quietly confident. I'm going to say 2-0 Chelsea.
Z?
I think you nailed it mostly on the head. However, Burnley this season do have the big boss man, Maxwell Cornet, and this guy is basically Burnley's version of Alan Saint-Maximin. He's not quite Gucci, but he is at least Debenhams, right? Like, this dude is completely changed the way they play, and for the first time in my life, I can actually watch a Sean Dyche team play and not want to scoop my eyes out. So I think Burnley could score. I'm going to give them one. I'm going to say 4-1 to Chelsea. I say that because normally Burnley would be shithousing you and not wanting to concede. However, they have played more attacking, and Cornet gives them that. So while Dyche would be tempted to just hole up and park the bus like he used to do, that gravel crunching sod, hate his voice. Yeah, I think Chelsea, sorry, are going to overwhelm them. But at the same time, they will concede. I don't see them keeping a clean sheet. I love how I'm saying this, and I've got like double Chelsea defenders. Like, what the fuck am I doing? But I'm like tempted to get James in as well to make like triple Chelsea defense.
I mean, I've got James.
Yeah, I've put James in there now as well.
I got Chilwell and Rudiger. I'm like, is it silly to get James as well? Fucking get the trifecta. Christensen, get in there. Chalobah, make it back 5. But yeah, okay. So I'm going 4-1 Chelsea.
Cool. Okay, I think I'm gonna. I agree with a lot of what Jake said. So I'm gonna go for 2-0. I don't think they're gonna run away with it. I acknowledge the the attacking improvement that Cornet has brought to Burnley, but I still think Chelsea's going to be way too much for them. So yeah, 2-0. I'm going to go for. We've also got Arsenal Watford.
This has 2-0 Arsenal written all over it.
I was thinking exactly that scoreline.
Watford are weird though because they had
couldn't
such
keep
a
a
good
clean
performance
sheet
against Everton.
if his life depended on it.
No,
So
he can't. But that I feel I watched the Watford Everton game and I feel like a lot of their goals came towards the end of the match, but I felt like they played really well in that game. And then the weekend just gone, they lost to Southampton.
Yeah.
And so
They couldn't
I
take
don't really
their
know what
chances,
to
really.
expect from this.
Was that just 1-0 though? And to be fair,
Yeah,
that was
it
like
was just 1-0.
Che
Yeah,
Adams
it was.
like worldy as well. So I feel like
no,
Foster,
it's not like it was.
I'll give him that one.
It wasn't a great day for attackers that game because I watched the highlights of the match today and literally so many chances went begging. It was just like I don't think Watford will score against Arsenal really with the form that Aaron Ramsdale's in. That man he is a brick wall.
That save for the free kick.
Free kick was
what
amazing.
A save!
Inject that shit straight into my veins. Graham was my goalkeeper. I was like, yes, boy. 8 saves. 8 freaking saves. And like, on one hand, it was like, how the hell did you have to make 8 saves? And on the other hand, it was like, holy shit, this dude, he's like the Terminator between the sticks. He's amazing.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so what's your predictions for Arsenal Watford?
2-0.
2-0.
2-0. Okay. I am gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go 2-0 as well. Yeah.
Won't we all look stupid? Won't we all look stupid when Arsenal lose like 3-0?
With all 3 goals, like Jesus.
Simona Sarr gets a hat trick.
Spurs versus Everton. So this could be Conte's first match in charge of Tottenham Hotspurs.
Spurs are gonna absolutely batter them 0-0, but with 51% possession. Total victory, fatality. And then in the second game under Conte, they'll somehow win like 12-0. Yeah, no, I actually just have 0-0. I see it finishing 0, yeah.
I can't see that being 0-0. I can't see that being 0-0. Jake, what are you saying?
I'm gonna go. I was gonna say Everton 1-0, but Everton's a bit shocking defence and the Jordan Pickford that turns up for Everton is dog shit. So Spurs will get if Spurs can get a shot on target, it might go in. So I'm expecting. I'm expecting. I'm gonna say 2-2.
Interesting.
Sun double and like 2 Pickford howlers.
I'm gonna go for 2-1. Spurs. I think the new manager.
And you guys have so much faith.
The new manager.
I wish I believed in anything as much as you guys believe in Tottenham Hotspur right now.
I hate Tottenham Hotspur, but I think, but I also
it's the new manager
know that Pickford shit.
And Pickford, he really is.
Actually, no, that's a fair point. Like, I mean, the game is only a couple of days away, though, right? Like, I don't know how soon Conte can come in and do something. Like, he would need to be confirmed tomorrow for me
Yeah,
to be
pretty
like,
much.
okay,
Well, from the
if he's
sounds of it,
confirmed tomorrow,
yeah,
there
I
will be
think
goals in
he
that
is going to be
game.
confirmed tomorrow. I think he is going to be confirmed tomorrow. From the whispers that are about, I think his contract will be finalized tomorrow. So,
In that case, if he's there in time, then I'd probably be like, yeah, 2-2 or 2-1 might be. But I'll stick with 0-0 just because it's Tottenham, and you never know. So who else we got?
and the last one is Liverpool West Ham. That's an interesting one.
Oh.
2-1 Liverpool. It's just a feeling,
Mm.
just purely based on vibes.
Those vibes. I'm gonna go for an absolute upset, and this is more me doing it again just out of will. It didn't work last time, but it's gonna work this time.
It didn't work last
West
time,
Ham
did it, mate?
are gonna no, it didn't work last time. West Ham are gonna beat Liverpool 2-1, and it's gonna be a Ben Rama absolutely saucy like assist to Antonio goal, and Declan Rice coming in with the winner. That's West Ham 2-1 to that's what I'm going for.
And who's going to score for Liverpool?
Salah, obviously.
Okay, so you're not completely deluded. All right,
just a bit delusional. Yeah, I don't actually think that will happen, but I'm just trying to be different.
To be fair, at this point, like whenever Liverpool play, I can't see
Salah's
Liverpool
gonna score.
not scoring in
Yeah,
a game
I can't
this
see them
form for
scoring.
the rest of the year. Like literally every single game, it's like, well, Liverpool will get at least 1 goal, possibly 3 from the same guy.
To be honest, I
But
can't
yeah,
see them losing against West Ham.
West
either.
Ham are playing
Like
so
I
well
said,
though. Like
West
credit where
Ham
it's
are
due.
good.
Moyes is doing bits.
Doing very well.
If anyone
with
can
the
do it out of
Hammers.
the mid table teams, it would be West Ham. I think they've got the best chance. Either them or did Brighton already play them? I feel like Brighton.
Yeah, played last week 2-2.
Yeah, they did, didn't they? 2-2.
Speaking
That
of
was
Brighton,
it. Yeah.
speaking of
See,
Brighton,
and they had Basuma back, as well. So
Yep.
it made a big difference. They've been struggling without him a little bit.
yeah, but I mean they play Newcastle, so they actually play the might of Alan San Maximan. So
Vibes FC.
yeah, Gucci right there. 1-0 Newcastle.
Gucci gang.
San Maximan to dribble around the whole team, including the corpse of Steve Bruce before firing it in.
Yeah. So is it? What was your predictions, Jake?
There's going to be goals. I don't doubt that. I know West Ham will score a goal. Liverpool will score a goal, but I don't think either team can win.
You think it's going to be draw again?
I think I'm going to go for 1-1. I reckon Liverpool lead, and West Ham will take them back.
Interesting. Well, okay. Well, I guess we'll see. We'll see how it all goes. We did have another topic to talk about, but we'll have to save that for the next time. The whole Newcastle takeover. But we've just simply run out of time. So, it's been a good episode. Like I said, so much has happened in the last few weeks. But we will be trying to upload again in the next couple of weeks. So we'll talk about Newcastle then, and whatever else has happened, and how well Conte's start at Spurs has been, things like that. But as always, great episode, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Obviously, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye bye.